Greetings and salutations, viewers. I'm StarPrincessHLC, and welcome back to Lads in Distress. When I last left off, we met at least two of our possible suitors, the merman and the Elsa ripoff. So now I guess we're going to be choosing which one we want for our husband, even though we've only really met two. And it's like, I have a choice between these guys, but it's like, the one guy I didn't meet. The one guy was a bit of a womanizer, and the other guy, I'm not sure what to say. So, I think we'll just go with an order here, and I'll go with Myr, just because I'm a little bit more curious about him than Snow. I decide on Prince Myr of the Water Kingdom. I watch as my parents inevitably clench their teeth and begin to tremble. My father's voice quivers when he finally manages to speak up. Prince Myr. You do realize his name was circled for a reason, I hope. I begin rambling to diffuse my parents' frustration as best as I can. In my defense, his kingdom is the most practical to marry into. Their nation is affluent and peaceful. It's also close enough to our own kingdom that it'll be easy to rule over both kingdoms at once from a single location. Most importantly, he has a firm grip on his nation's crown. He'll be coronet without a doubt, and if rumors of his diplomacy are true, he will make a very fine ruler. He will indeed make a very fine ruler, but you will not be alive to see if you will marry him. Charming, you know how much we respect your decisions, and we try to give you freedom of choice whenever possible. However, you have none in this matter. You may not wed Prince Myr, and that is final. Why are you all so against him? Nicole told me gossip after gossip about him, but each of them was as apocryphal as the last. Speaking of Nicole, where is he? We should never have invited any of the circled princes, but Nicole said they were necessary to pique your interest in the ball. Father continues trying to keep himself calm, but his pitch is uncharacteristically high. His voice cracks several times, and everything about him, from his hands to his voice, are still shaking. Pique your interest they did, all right, in the worst way possible. Please answer my question. What do you know about him? I trust your judgments. I trust that you wouldn't be so quick to vilify a prince without knowing something more concrete than just mere rumors. My parents nod and I stare at them in expectation. As you know, Lunar and Water Kingdoms have been loosely allied for decades. The King of the Water Kingdom and I are childhood friends. Well then, what's the problem, Daddy dearest? I was personally there when Myr returned. I'd rushed my way over to Water Kingdom the week after Myr's disappearance. I hadn't felt comfortable taking anyone I loved along with me after all the whispers about curses I'd been hearing, but I valued my friendship with the king too much to just stay here and let him suffer with his wife. Aside from the king and queen, who were, of course, in fervent denial, everyone knew Myr was dead. We never said it out loud, but everyone thought it. But then the boy came back, alive and whole, missing his voice and memories, yes, but he was alive and perfectly whole. We were all in awe. How had he survived for 2 weeks? How had none of the thousands of men been able to find him? How had he lost his voice, his memories? I fidgeted in place as I continued to listen. Of course, despite all my wonders, I was extremely happy for both the poor boy, my friend, and the kingdom itself. However, it soon became apparent that whatever had kept the boy alive had changed him, consumed him even. It made me just fine thinking that I had no tangible proof. However, the boy was so kind prior to his disappearance, so gentle, so loving. That was no longer the case after his return. I saw the disgusted way he looked at everyone, the way his smiles would quickly drop and reveal murderous glares whenever his parents turned their backs. Ooh. I saw the way that whenever he talked to a noble or royal, even to his parents, he'd clutch some dagger I've never seen before as though his life depended on it. So do I have concrete evidence? No, far from it, but I do have grounds for my worries. I dare say that yes, I do. Father, we don't know what happened to him while he was gone. Exactly, and that's why you cannot marry him. Whatever happened, it's inevitable that he had to develop numerous defense mechanisms for survival. It doesn't feel right to punish him for putting all into seeing his parents again. It feels right to be cautious, child. You will understand when you're a parent yourself. Well, at this rate, I'm probably never going to be a parent because you're not letting me marry. Although it doesn't stop some girls. Don't you trust your friend? You loved your friend enough that you were willing to risk death and curses to console him. It's time you trust that your friend has continued to raise Myr well. It's time to trust that your friend respects you just as much as you respect him. It's time to trust that if Myrrh poses a threat to the safety of any of us, your friend would have warned you in advance. Prince Myrrh hasn't even been coronated yet. Your friend is still the king, and if he thought Myrrh would harm any of us, he wouldn't have allowed Myrrh to come here. My eyes bore into my father's. The stillness of mine starkly contrasts the tremoring of his. After a moment that seems to stretch through hours, my father looks away with a defeated shake of his head. I suppose we can't stop you, Charming. Trust me, Father, I'll be fine. Prince Myrrh seems like a kind, wise man. Remember that you still have the month-long courting period before you decide whether or not to confirm the engagement. If he does anything questionable within the time period, you must end the relationship immediately. Mother nods from beside him, grabbing her elbows for comfort. Please, Charming. I can't help but beam at my parents' approval. Of course, I value my life too, you know. I don't want to die. Hello, handsome. How you doing? I curtsy in Prince Myrrh's direction as soon as I enter the room, and his face visibly lights up. I hope you haven't waited long. Prince Myrrh shakes his head as he walks towards me. You must have heard the news by now. The prince shakes his head as he hands me a decorated sheet of vellum. What's this? I accept the sheet and take a quick glance at it. The cursive writing is ornate and practiced, and despite how small it is, it fills up the entire page. Did he write us a love letter? I swell up at the prince, realizing it must be a letter. Thank you, this must have taken so much time. It's very thoughtful of you. Would you like me to read it right now, or wait till I'm alone? Prince Myrrh scratches his head before raising solely his index finger. Oh, sorry, I forgot it's hard for you to answer questions that aren't yes or no. The first one? You want me to read it right now? Seeing him nod, I shift in place before returning my gaze to his letter. Again, why didn't he, learn sign language? But then again, not everyone knows sign language, but it would probably benefit him a lot better. I don't know, do they have sign language in this world? Probably not. A pleasant tension fills the air as I begin to read Prince Myrrh's words. Despite the length and the abundance of fluff and what are hopefully sweet somethings, the overall message is quite simple and expected. He says he is honored to be chosen as a potential future husband. After that, he hopes he will not disappoint me. As I continue to read, a few sentences stick out and catch my attention. If only I could hold actual, genuine conversations. I suppose I could write to you, but that requires a constant source of vellum and quill. Besides, writing takes far too long, and I must depend on solid, flat surfaces that aren't always available. If only there were some magical solution to this plight. Of course, there probably is none. My chin upsurges, and I grin at him. My eyes must literally sparkle. I bet I could teach you something useful for conversation if you wanted me to. Prince Myrrh raises his brows hesitantly, and I gently tap his shoulders to reassure him. I almost said lap his shoulders, yes. She just went over to him and started licking him. That would be a great way to show how much you like this guy. And creepy. I resume talking again as soon as he finally nods. First, I should confirm the most important thing. Would you like your voice back? It may take a while, and it'll definitely take a lot of effort, but there must be a way to return your speaking abilities. The prince shakes his head. I furrow my brows since I've been looking forward to getting to the bottom of his change, but I see no need to question his decision. In that case, how do you feel about using visual illusions? You could create temporary illusions mid-air of the words you want to say. The air around you will be your writing board, so to speak. Prince Myrrh nods, a hopeful smile brightening his face. Pleased by his reaction, I'm about to begin teaching him magic on the spot when I remember that teaching outsiders, those foreign to Lunar Kingdom, magic is not only warned against, but also illegal. This prohibition is one of the primary reasons Lunar Kingdom has remained the sole hub of magic, and the Lunar Kingdom's monopoly over magic and fairies is the single reason it has remained so relevant today. Even my father does not know any magic of his own, despite the decades he has spent here as a ruler. Originally a noble from a faraway nation, by law and by customs he is forever banned from learning to practice magic. Well, that's sad. Meanwhile, I'm considering teaching magic to Prince Myrrh, who isn't even married to me yet. Although I doubt anyone could imprison me for teaching a fellow prince a fellow spell, that doesn't excuse the action. Out of the corner of my eye, I see Prince Myrrh cocking his head as if to ask if everything's all right. Well, I've already given him hope, so let's do it that way. Well, the thing is, I've already offered to help him, and I can't just take back my words. So it's basically, screw the rules, I have money, or, well, I did kind of make him feel good, so. Besides, teaching him magic could be really fun, and I'm excited that we'll be able to hold spontaneous, speedy conversations. Teaching outsiders magic is forbidden. Prince Myrrh bites his lip, looking like a dejected puppy. I wake before saying my next words, just to make sure not to use the magic I teach you when others are around, okay? And make sure to never leak any information to others. He nods, and I sigh in relief. Well, who's he gonna tell? He's mute. I want to teach you how to create the illusions as soon as possible. How does early tomorrow morning sound? Say at about 9. Prince Myrrh gives 2 thumbs up and a wink, and our soft laughter fills the air. He can laugh, but he can't talk. I'm so excited. I'll be looking forward to our lesson. I just need to tell Nicole to stay out of the magic room tomorrow. Yeah, this is kind of questionable. It's like, okay, you can teach him it, but even though it's illegal, but then he can't use it because it's illegal. If people see him using it, they'll be questioning, like, how did he learn it? He must have learned it from the Lunar Kingdom, and that's illegal. You're not thinking clearly, dear. He can't use it. Unless you're just going to talk amongst each other, then fine, but I can't have him walk in on us while I'm trying to teach Prince Myrrh magic. When I turn around and leave, however, Prince Myrrh tugs me by the wrist. Oh, what's wrong? His eyes glaze over for a brief second, and he raises his free arm as though he wants to gesture something. Rather than going through with his plan, however, he simply shakes his head and waves me goodbye. While I'm perplexed by his actions, I say nothing. See you later, Prince Myrrh. He nods at me, his expression somehow hesitant. I barge into the magic room an hour in advance. Prince Charming, how has your day been? Princess Charming. How rare are you to be so formal? I said Prince Charming. Whoops. It's a habit. Charming, then. I heard about your selection. I wince at the feigned tone of disapproval and concern in his voice. Okay, I know you're worried, but I had valid reasons. And, now I have more opportunities to learn more about him. I don't care enough about his past to accept that you're risking your life. What reasons? Please don't tell me you were seduced by how mysterious he was. Don't take me for a fool, Prince. Myrrh is probably the most practical suitor to marry, politically speaking. Based on my experiences with him, he seems sweet enough. You don't know that, though. He's probably just waiting until you're actually married when harming you could actually do him harm. Nicole, I understand why you're worried, and I'm even a little flattered that you care so much about my well-being. Can't you trust me, though? It's not like I ignored your warnings from before because of some spontaneous illusion of love at first sight. I mean, what do you take me for? An ignorant Disney princess? It's for the nation that I'm getting married at all, and it's for the nation that I have selected Prince Myrrh. Besides, I didn't even feel anything off about him, and I got close enough to dance with him. I can tell Nicole is trying his best to rein in his frustration. Charming, you don't have a drop of fairy blood in you. That doesn't matter. I'm probably still better at magic than a good third of the most pure-blooded of fairies. You're still not a fairy. Even fairies who no longer practice magic have better senses when it comes to this. Did you feel anything off about him? No, I was never able to get very close. I didn't think I'd need to. Why are you so worried when you still have no proof of anything then? Nicole, it's alright, I can protect myself. If Prince Myrrh tries to harm me in any way, I'll stop him and cancel the engagement. I haven't even sealed the engagement yet. There's still a month left until I have to do that. Try getting close to him in the next few days. If you feel something off about him, don't hesitate to tell me, but until then, please trust me. Silence stretches on for minutes before Nicole finally responds. I can't change your mind, can I? Nope, it's a little too late for that. Nice try, though. I titter and Nicole returns a half smile. I understand. You do? I mean, of course you do. Nothing? Thank you. But will you at least let me switch bodies with you just for a day or two? Wait, what? I'll be able to get closer to Myrrh, and I may even be able to try a few minor spells on him to test his motives. If he tries anything, I'll stop him. I get your reasoning, but what do you mean by switching bodies? I didn't even know that was a thing. It's real indeed, and it can certainly be very useful. For lack of better words, what happens is that the souls escape their bodies and enter their partners' bodies. Well, you can't deny that I'm practically a prodigy at magic. Nicole rolls his eyes at my boasting, but he doesn't object. You have to be phenomenal at magic to pull it off, otherwise the process is going to kill everyone involved, or worse, put all the souls into a state of bodiless limbo. Fun! I don't want you switching with me right now, but will you teach me how to do it? You never know, it might come in handy in the future. I don't think you're ready for it yet. The process is very fickle and demanding. Even if you perform a skill perfectly, if you want the switch to last longer than a few days, well, you'll have to make sacrifices. Blood sacrifices, otherwise your mind will dissolve. We want to risk all that? Why? Oh, don't misunderstand. It won't be my first time, and I'll actually know what I'm doing. All I'm saying is that you're not ready to initiate it, especially since Prince Mer will take up so much of your time and attention. Point taken. Promise me that you'll teach me how once I'm more free. I'm always up for a challenge. I promise. Before I get off topic again, why are you here? What do you need me for? I doubt you rushed over here because you wanted me to lecture you. Oh, actually, can you stay away from this room for the rest of the day? How did I make this sound unsuspicious and credible? I want to try a few personal spells and potions by myself. I'm failing on both counts, yep. Nicole crosses his arms, his eyes narrowing at my feigned bright smile, but he doesn't refuse. Alright, have fun. I'll trust you with that, just give me time to finish this potion. I make a small jump of joy as I beam up at him. Thanks, Nicole, you have fun too. I grab Nicole's hands to give them a tight squeeze. Be careful, Charming. I nod despite my optimism. I can't help but indulge the nagging thought in the back of my mind. Wait, what if Nicole is right? What if Prince Mer isn't the kind man he seems to be? I can take care of myself. It would be a pity, but I'll be fine. I'm strong enough that Prince Mer's antics could never pose a threat. I shrug as I hop to the bookshelves. Perhaps I could find something I can use to teach Prince Mer. When I see Nicole finally leave, I wave him goodbye. Okay, bye, friend. I look at the clock for the 1,000th time, only to realize there are still 20 minutes left until Prince Mer is scheduled to appear. Never mind, he's already here. Fortunately, the man knocks twice on the open door, quite a bit early, rescuing me from my boredom. I dash to the door, and he walks right in. Don't seem desperate or anything, girlfriend. You're very early, I'm impressed. Prince Mer grins before bowing slightly. I curtsy in return. Why don't we drop the formalities? We'll soon be married after all, assuming everything goes well. I take his smile as an agreement. Now, are you ready for your lesson? He shrugs it off as to ask why else would I be here. I grab his hand and tug him over to the shelves. Alright, so let's begin. I grab a vial of colored water and shake it around, creating small tornadoes from inside the vial before handing it to Mer. Drink it up, it's a potion that gives you a little bit of magic. Prince Mer stares at the potion dubiously. I gulp, worried he can somehow see through my ruse. Humans aren't born with magic in us, obviously. Potions like these are made by combining materials such as dragon saliva and fairy tears, then chanting day-long spells as they boil. That must be fun, getting the dragon saliva. Okay, now spit! Thank you! Now I gotta go wash myself. By drinking them, we accept a little of the species' magic abilities. The ingredients are definitely disgusting to think about, but what the heck, power comes with a price, I guess you could say. My words are most ad-lib nonsense. I know better than to risk blabbing everything to a man I've been warned so often about. I may be teaching an outsider magic techniques, but that doesn't mean I have to tell only the truth or spill every relevant detail. Besides, the colored water can act as a placebo, and placebos have never done any harm. Maybe. In reality, magic resides in all humans. It's simply dormant. All it takes to wield it is knowledge of its existence and of approximately how it works. So, are you just gonna keep staring at my hand, or are you gonna take the vial? Don't keep me waiting. Prince Mer reaches out his arms, palms up, and waits for me to drop the vial into his hands. You're too polite. You could have just wrestled the thing from my hand, you know. Then you probably would have screamed at him for being rude or something. I don't know. You always gotta kind of tiptoe around girls half the time, it seems. Prince Mur gives a hearty laugh before tilting up his head and chugging the water down in a single gulp. How is it? Feel the magic? He tilts his head, perhaps pondering my question before wavering his hand back and forth for the so-so gesture. Don't worry, it usually is pretty subtle, so even if you don't feel anything different, that's completely normal. After all, it's not how different you feel that's important, it's how well you can use magic. Now, visual illusion magic is probably the simplest thing you can start with. Magic itself is pretty simple. The only reason most humans are incapable is simply because they don't have access to the potions, and because they don't know how simple it is, so most never even try. The foundation of illusion magic is intent. Not sure how to explain it properly. Imagine that there's a strip of parchment floating in front of you. Mur nods, and I wait in silence for almost a minute, but nothing appears. Try closing your eyes? I know this will sound cheesy, but try to force yourself to believe that there is really a strip of parchment in front of you. A large strip that is as wide as you are tall. Mur nods once more, and his veins begin to bulge as he attempts to will a visual illusion into existence. Again, nothing happens, but I lift and shift my weight back and forth. This came so easily to me back when I started learning magic. How can I help him when I don't know what's going wrong? Maybe try... Suddenly, an endless sea of red floods my vision. Whoa! What in the world? Did we just die? I shift the tiniest bit backwards, and the red that filled my vision reveals themselves to be petals. Rose petals. Both Mur and I have been buried in a giant mound of roses. Oh, I wish I could have seen that. I can't feel or smell them, so they're clearly not real, although they'd easily look the part if a quarter of them weren't seemingly piercing through our bodies. Don't tell me. No wonder you were struggling so much. It's definitely much harder to create illusions of multiple objects. Roses are also much more intricate, too, than a simple papyrus sheet. I applaud your adaptation skills. I giggle some more at the sight and situation. There's a rose right where my mouth is, and I can see myself practically biting it each time I speak. Oh dear. Good thing it's not real, or otherwise, a thorny mouth you would have. Jeez. Thanks for all the roses. It's always great to receive them, and even better to drown in them. If you say so, at least they won't hurt with the thorns and such. Prince Mur tries to turn his head. His face crimson red, and he winces when the flowers behind him don't cushion his movement. Seriously though, this is impressive. I take a step forward and lunge into a bear hug with the prince. While I'm not quite sure what your intent was, the flowers are awesome. You're awesome. Aw. I guess he was trying to be romantic, and it somewhat failed. But not quite, because she still likes him. Prince Mur almost falls backwards, and only barely manages to stay upright as he wraps his arms around me. It's like, you haven't even known each other for a day, and you're already bear-hugging him. This is gonna send mixed signals. The moment the prince is distracted from his efforts, the roses vanish without a trace. I speak a few terse words into the prince's chest. Pity, they were so pretty. You did an amazing job, by the way. His hands tremble as he caresses my hair. I push myself away from his tight embrace. His hands wait a few extra seconds before leaving the arch of my back. Sorry, did I scare you? He shakes his head, but something in his expression plants seeds of worry in me. Feel free to tell me if I cross any lines. I'm rather impulsive, you see. As such, I tend to break rules of propriety all too often. Hell, I'm teaching you magic when I shouldn't. Anyway, now that you've rained roses on us, the papyrus should be much easier. Why don't we try that? Prince Mur nods for closing his eyes once more to focus. It takes a few seconds, but a usable, albeit shoddy, sheet of vellum does appear before my eyes. Great job, you're doing fantastic. Prince Mur nods, his eyes still clenched shut in concentration. I'd love to be looking into your eyes while talking to you. I reach out and brush away the sweat from Prince Mur's face. While his body does jolt the sensation of my hand, his eyes finally open. To his relief, the illusion stays vivid. There we go, you did it! So how do you feel without using magic? A slight smile spreads across his otherwise focused face. I laugh. Don't worry, magic takes a bit of practice is all. This'll be a piece of cake in no time. Prince Mur raises his brows and points at me with his thumb. Are you asking me how it is for me? He nods. I'm sorry to say I've had no issues at all with illusion magic, but children do always learn more easily. I shrug. I won't cover up my talent for his sake, but that doesn't mean I can't sugarcoat things. I have struggled with some harder magic stuff, though, although not often. Whenever that happens, I just practice and practice until it's second nature. Just like I'd love for you to practice and practice until the spell doesn't tax you at all. He nods once more, and I grin at him in response. Note that there is a reason I wanted you to actualize the parchment rather than words first. I mean, it's obviously easier, so you won't be jumping from 0 to 100 immediately. But more importantly, the vellum contrasts with the text enough to make it more visible and easier to read. After all, if it's written in midair, chances are the text will blend into the background, making it impossible to make out the words. I rub my neck, wondering if I could possibly get any more boring. Now that the first part is done, can you try imagining words on the paper? Oh dear, his face turned blue. That's a great start. Prince Smurf focuses once more, beads of sweat rolling down his forehead, and it practically pains me to watch him struggle to keep his eyes open. If it's easy to create illusions with your eyes closed, you can choose to do so. It's perfectly normal for a beginner to start with this method. Just open your eyes again once the illusion has appeared. I'll tell you when. I'm teaching you magic so you can converse with me, not to torture you. He shakes his head, and I nibble on my own lips until they almost bleed as I hold my elbows tight. Oh, so slowly, text begins to form across the parchment, one letter at a time. Okay, I have no idea what you're writing. Oh wait, you're backwards. You're writing backwards. Okay. I do quite enjoy a challenge. I had to think about that for a sec. Normally I could read backwards and upside down, so... What the heck? It takes me a while to realize what Prince Smurf's illusions are gibberish. Don't forget to account for the fact that I'm on the opposite side of you. You might need to reverse the text horizontally so I can read it. Or you can learn to read backwards like I do. Prince Smurf cocks his head in confusion. He walks close to me before turning around to look at the parchment from my perspective. He covers his face with his hands before returning to his original place. By the way, don't worry about figuring out the reverse order yourself. That's not only tedious but pointless. You really just have to want the text to be displayed horizontally, and it will be. Trying to explain the workings of magic not only reminds me how fickle and bizarre and, well, dangerous it is. People have willed tangible items into existence out of thin air, while the more unfortunate have willed themselves dead. Simply wishing something won't do the trick, but if a magic wielder adds enough passion and desire, no matter how fleeting, to a few simple words, the aftermath could be disastrous, and I don't even want to think about it. I do quite enjoy a challenge. This is what I said before, only backwards. Well, I must say you certainly have risen to the challenge quite well. I wouldn't have minded if you failed to display the text correctly, though. Hey, I would have had more fun with it. I like challenges, too, and it would have been interesting to develop the skill of reading text backwards. Mara smiles at me in amusement before frowning in concentration once again, most likely to write me a response. Hurriedly, I try to explain to him how to proceed before his new line of text appears on top of the previous one. Well, don't forget to clear the parchment first. The parchment is similar to a sandbox. You can write on it or wipe away the text as needed. If you want to clear the parchment, just wipe away the text in your mind. Wish the text to disappear. Great! You're a very fast learner. I'm impressed. And you should know I never give compliments easily. You jest, but I thank you regardless. I'm only speaking the truth, I assure you. It is fantastic to finally be able to converse with you. I must apologize myself. I don't even know my own nation's sign language, much less yours. Would it be too much for you to teach me from now on? It would be my pleasure, although I must admit it will take years to learn, especially given that I am no teacher. You can't be worse than me, Prince Smurf. But you weren't bad at all. I never thought I could learn such a useful magic technique so quickly. It's all thanks to your guidance. While I love receiving compliments, it's too obvious that he's bluffing to be polite. I laugh. Thank you for the flattery, but it was all you. You're very intelligent. You've already gotten accustomed to the magic. The potion may have contributed more than a little. The potion? Oh yes, the potion. I allowed you to have some because you were more than deserving. I hope it wasn't your last. A potion this powerful must be scarce. Oh, well, we have more lying around, just not here. The rest have already been sent to nobles' homes. The ones who aren't descended from fairies pay ludicrous fees to become better at magic. I smile at my ad-libbing. I'm great at this. Oh, I'm a perpetual liar. I'm going to be a great politician someday. Anyhow, we do need to head to your kingdom soon. Perhaps we could figure out the details of our trip right now. About that. Prince Murr's face clouds up for the briefest of moments, but his smile returns before I can ascertain anything, making me wonder if I imagined it. I'm afraid I would prefer to stay here. I know it's not normally done, but... Why? Our kingdom sounds beautiful and enchanting. Besides, traditions are traditions, you know that. Once the host of a ball has selected a potential fiancé, they are required to spend the next month in the guest kingdom. We are nothing compared to the weight of tradition. We haven't even been crowned yet. A mere crown princess and prince can't possibly cross norms on a whim. I beg of you. He looks crestfallen. I turn my head. Well, I kind of want a good reason on this. I don't want to be mean and say, like, oh, he's acting suspicious, but... Alright, let's just say, I trust you have a good reason, my prince, and I'd love to hear it. We can't just stay here, but I'd at least like to know. Perhaps we can find a solution together, or perhaps we can compromise at least. I understand, Princess Charming. You're being very logical, and I'm glad you're here to stop me from being short-sighted. I'm afraid I'm only speaking emotionally. I have no good reason to stay other than my personal feelings. He says the last 3 words with what can only be self-loathing and shame. I scratch my nose, wondering how I can comfort him. That's completely alright. Could you elaborate? You don't have to if you can't, of course. Either way, please know that whatever you're feeling, they are completely justified. I'm here for you no matter what. No, I will tell you. I want to. It has to do with my past. Oh? You already heard lots of rumors about me, have you not? Yes, but I'm not foolish enough to believe a word of it. Of course you don't. You selected me as your suitor, didn't you? Indeed. Do you really think I would accept someone I didn't trust? Not at all. You're far too intelligent and wise. Aw, you flattered me so much today, I almost want to run off and hide. Please don't. I enjoy your company too much. And really, I am so grateful you selected me in spite of the gossip. I grin up at him. I'm grateful you came. I didn't think I could ever woo anyone. I know we're not married, but if we ever do end up wedding, I'd consider it an undeserved miracle. What? Why in the world? You're wonderful and attractive too. I bet women fawn all over you. He changes the topic, perhaps uncomfortable. 7 years ago, I don't know how I returned to the castle. The first memory I have is of stopping in front of the gates. The guards screaming a bunch of expletives in shock. The monarchs, my parents, dashing towards me with their arms wide open and tears in their eyes. Pity I don't remember any of them or know what in the world was going on. I didn't even know who I was. His words appear and disappear rather quickly and turbulently. I struggle to read everything before it vanishes. The content of his words are also haphazard and jump from one topic to the next without warning. From then, I desperately try to get accustomed to my surroundings and the novelty of living and remembering in general. My parents worried about me and outlawed the defamation of royalty, but it's impossible to completely silence the people, especially when some of the most outspoken are nobles and monarchs themselves. Nobody said anything to my face, but behind walls, I was the greatest laughingstock ever to exist. I'd see the way people look at me, like I was vermin or worse. Heck, I'd often hear accusations from even people in the same room as me when they thought I was too far away to hear them. Sadly, I am not deaf. I am mute, but I am not deaf. They'd casually talk about imprisoning me, torturing me for information, killing me, torturing me for the fun of it, beating me up, torturing me. A lot of torture. I think torture's a big thing. At first, I considered just tattling, but what would that achieve? It wasn't just a few perps, everyone was gossiping about me. Everyone always gathers together to gossip about me and ridicule me to whoever is willing to listen. It is true you may lose your people's support, and if you do, I am sorry. I'll try my best to make it up to you, and I will make it very clear to everyone that I have no intention of stealing the throne from you. I could never. However, I have nothing to lose myself. My parents receive support and adoration from the people, and outsiders it may seem like I do too. In reality, however, I only receive scorn and mockery. When I was leaving Water Kingdom to come here, well, people encouraged me to my face, yes. But when they didn't think my parents or I were nearby, everyone only laughed that I was even trying. How could I woo anyone, much less you? So yes, I'm afraid that my reason for staying is inherently and solely selfish. I know people gossip about me here, but trust me, the frequency and intensity of the rumors here don't even compare. I don't want you hearing them. As long as you are there, especially as a potential suitor, people will bombard you with the worst of rumors, and I don't want you to be influenced by them. I know it's selfish. I can't help it. I don't want to be subject to them myself while I'm trying to court you. They're just words, yes, but words do a lot to a person when they're so so commonplace and violent. It's true. I mean, you could argue with the same thing online where people are giving you death threats and such. And it's like, yeah, they're being petty and childish and they really aren't important in the long run, but if you're not used to that kind of behavior and don't see it that way, then you start to think that kind of behavior and it hurts. Like, you know, you hear the saying, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. And that is true, but sometimes you hear it so much that you tend to believe it. So you gotta make sure, like, to ignore that kind of stuff and talk to people that care about you and make sure that it's not, you know, influencing you to such a degree. Anyway, back to the story. His torrent of words finally halt, and I finally realized I had been stunned into silence all this time. I wipe away tears of empathy that I never felt leaving my face, or my eyes. I'm so sorry. Don't be. You've only ever been kind. I shake my head. I doubt I'll be affected by any gossip. If anything, I'll tell everyone off. Prince Spur shakes his head with a sad smile. I doubt you'd be able to. Rumors influence everyone, at least subconsciously, and given how often and how vehemently they're told to everyone. I doubt that. Regardless, when we're married, we definitely will be residing in your kingdom for quite a while. If your words are true, I don't want you living anywhere near your kingdom. It doesn't sound like the place is at all good for you. Visiting is inevitable, but actually residing there? I shudder at the thought. Since our nations will be united anyway, we could definitely establish our capital somewhere between our two city-states. The prince nods, but the melancholy expression stays on his face. I sigh, hesitating. I really shouldn't be giving in, but something about the prince's dejected demeanor pulls at my heartstrings, causing me to waver. Finally, I cave in and grab his hands, trying to smile at him confidently. I'm totally going to regret this, but alright, maybe it is better for us to stay here. I was definitely exaggerating when I said the fairies would just up and leave. They'll be fine as long as we don't do anything questionable afterwards. And we definitely can't let it seem like you're manipulating me. Is it really alright? Well, I'll try my best. At least we need permission from our parents first. We can try every rhetoric in the book on mine. As for yours, why don't we send them a letter? No matter the stances of nobles and servants, your parents must love you to death, and they've been expecting you. My parents. Right, my parents, right. I'll do so right away. Prince Spur hesitates before he continues. Thank you. Thank you, Princess Charming. I do not even know how I could possibly express my gratitude. I return a warm smile. Don't worry about me. Aw, that was strangely sweet and adorable. Oh boy, now we gotta talk to the parents and see how well this is gonna go. And Nicole's not gonna like this either, considering he's been very, vocal about his distrust of the young prince. But so far, this is starting to come out very sweet and adorable. Although again, I question how this is gonna work out eventually when they find out that I've been teaching him magic in secret, because again, he can't use it outside of talking to me. Otherwise, then he'll really get in trouble. So, I guess we'll see what happens in the next part. But for now, this is StarPrincessHLC saying, thank you very much for watching, and have a fond farewell.